what God did? He literally just said, wait, I'm gonna show you what's about to happen. He literally used the guy in charge to deliver us, and that's what God can do if you just trust him. Do not rely on your own resources. Do not rely on your contacts. Do not rely on the big people that you know. So the Lord laid it in my heart to share this testimony, and this is why I'm here. Again, for those of you who are new to this video, my name is Anita Barbara. I am from Kenya and I'm 33 years old. I'm saved and I love the Lord. So this is a testimony that I have to share about how the Lord worked exceedingly and abundantly above all I could ever ask, think, or imagine. He pulled one of those cards of, I'm the man in charge, I'm the boss, I'm the one you call when you're in trouble. And here's how. So a few weeks ago on a Sunday, I went to church, and the sermon that my pastor was preaching was about us letting our light shine. He spoke about the mandate that God gives to churches, that based on your name, you can tell the mandate of that church. So for example, Deliverance Church, you would find that the mandate of that church is to bring forth or to experience the deliverance of God, whatever that may look like, demonic oppression, drug addiction, whatever it is. That's the mandate of the church. And for my church, City Lighters Church, I feel like I've said church so many times, but for us it is to be the light to the cities of the world. As light on a hill cannot, a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. That we are not lit to be put under a basket or a table. We are put on the table so that everyone can see this light. And so he was urging us and giving us the charge to be a light and to shine. And one of the stories that he spoke about was the widow in the Old Testament and Elijah, that when Elijah came into this woman's house, she only had a little bit of flour and an oil, and that was the last meal for her and her sons. So when she fed Elijah, Elijah asked her, what do you have? And she said she had empty vessels. And Elijah told her to go and bring the vessels. There was an overflow. By the provision of God, there was an overflow. She went and even borrowed vessels from the neighbors, and there was an overflow of oil. And the only point where the oil stopped flowing is when they were asked for more vessels, and I think the son said that the vessels were over, and that's when the oil stopped. However, if she had more vessels and brought more vessels, then the oil would continue. So the message was, we need to bring our empty vessels to the Lord because he is willing to provide an overflow. And so in this sermon, I asked God, what are my vessels? And he reminded me something that he had told me to do. For context, before, the Lord had told me on Sundays after church, I should go into the CBD and create fashion content. And I did that for a while until the third service was introduced, and I felt like I wasn't inspired and there wasn't enough time because I would do it between second service and third service. So he had urged me to go do that, and I had packed my stuff, the things that I needed to shoot this fashion video in the CBD. And that morning, a friend of mine literally just messaged me and was like, friend, we should go back to doing this. And it just felt like a conversation that the Lord had orchestrated, and it felt like a confirmation. So leaving church, I was super pumped, and I was like, yes, let's go do this. So we went out, my friend and I, to shoot content, and she needed to help someone else shoot content. This is a church that's close by to ours, and so we decided to go to that specific location, do that, and then come back because I had a meeting in church. So we went and we were shooting content, and while we were doing this armed officer just walks by, and we happened to catch him in the frame because we had already started shooting, and then he just walked in. So the armed officer walked in and he stopped us. And he was asking us why we were shooting there. Didn't we know that we weren't supposed to shoot in that location? So this location is Parliament was to my right, and to the left there was a street that was joining to another busy street, like a main road. So we were shooting in this little path, but in my mind, you know, initially when I went there, I thought, are we allowed to shoot here? Like that thought crossed my mind. But I felt, okay, since it's not overtly parliament and it's not to that direction, then it's fine. So as we're doing this, he comes and stops us and he just starts interrogating us. He was very aggressive, and initially I was also just being aggressive. I was asking him and questioning, like logical questions. Why is this? We don't have you in this. And if we have taken videos of this, we can take it out. Like we can delete this. There's no need for all this aggression. So he got upset and he took my phone and he took us to his post. And he went inside, but we were talking to him from outside because of this little window. And so we were talking to him and he was interrogating us. Let me tell you, the guy had the vilest words I've ever had said to me. And it felt like it was just me who was targeted, because my friends, he was not speaking that way to them. And I think my friend said that I was a model, and I think that triggered him or something. I just really do not know. But he said some very ugly, vile things that did not even have to do with the video. But it felt like a very personal attack to me. So while we were there, a friend of mine who was calling me to find out where I was came to where we were, and she found us in this whole ordeal, and she stuck there and decided to just wait on the situation with us. So there's a lot of back and forth, just questioning us. The line of questioning was very unnecessary. At some point, I felt the Lord tell me, just humble yourself. Because if you humble yourself, the Lord will lift you up, and God resists the proud. So, and my friends were speaking to me and telling me, just calm down, because he also spoke about taking us to the police cell. And I asked him if he was going to do that, then I'm allowed to make a call, but he didn't want me to get a number from my phone. And so I was getting agitated, plus all of the things that he said. But then at some point, I felt like the Holy Spirit literally just calmed me down and helped me to just humble myself. So I was there and I was apologizing, and I was just not saying much because I didn't want to trigger him anymore. And so at some point, he didn't want to speak to me, he only wanted to speak to my friends. And he used very choice words. I cannot stress the amount of vile words he used, or the degree of vileness he used in his language towards me. But through all this, he was like commanding and demanding us to go to the pool, but we didn't want to go there because that would mean that we would either be charged. We were scared, to be honest. We were very scared to go in there because probably would have been sent into the cell or been booked for filming on the street. So it was very, very, how do I say, burdensome, honestly. And I was worried for a bit, but I felt like the Lord was literally just calming me down and helping me to hear his voice and allowing me to rest in him. And he would give me words. He would say, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And so that very thing that we were scared to do about going to the police cell is what we actually ended up doing. And that's how the Lord came through. But before we get to that, this is what happened. So at some point, this was around 2:40 something, when he came and took away the phone, because he took my phone and he wouldn't give it back. And that's the reason why we could not leave, because he had my phone. So he sent us to go and stand across the street somewhere, and because he didn't want to talk to us, and he asked for a bribe during this process. And so we were sitting there and we were just thinking to ourselves, like, we're not going to offer this bribe, but also we just did not have the money. And we were just thinking about it and saying, this is not something that God would be pleased about. And so as we were sitting there, I felt like the Lord was telling me, there was a song actually that was playing in my mind. The song was Chezea Bwana, Chezea, Chezea, Chezea. Like, God, do you want me to dance in the street right now? People are gonna see me. Like, that's what was playing in my mind. And I was feeling very nervous about that. But then when my friends joined in, we were sat there, and then one of my friends just pulled out her phone and started playing the song by Joe Praise, I've got joy, 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 joy. So it felt like we were aligned in the spirit, like the same thing that the Holy Spirit was telling me was communicating to her. And at some point, I just felt like there was tension in my body and I just needed to stand up and dance. And I was like, friend, I feel like I need to stand up and dance. Like, girl, I thought you'd have done this already. So I went and asked the guards next to this bank that was across the street, saw the entire thing, and they just felt so much compassion for us. And so while he was there, I asked him, sir, I just need to stand up and dance. Can I do that? And he was like, okay, fine, you can do that. So I stood up and I was just jumping and I decided to just dance because that's what the Lord had told me to do. And so he gave me the strength at that point, and I was just dancing, jumping, dancing, that all this entire thing. While we were waiting for him to make up his mind or for him to come up with a solution for us to move. This entire time from 2, this was heading to around 5. This was what was happening. We were praying in tongues. I was praying under my breath. We were just asking God to help us. We were just literally hoping on the Lord to come through. But before that, I remember when he said he was going to take us into the cell, I thought of calling someone who would help fix the entire situation. But then when I got the number and I called him, the number did not go through. And I felt like the Lord was telling me, do not trust on people. Do not put your trust in your resources. Just trust in me. And so when my mom even called me and asked, like, can I do something about it? I was like, no, mom, it's okay. Like, it will work out. I'll just let you know when everything is done. I think that's what I said to her. And so moving back to this time when we were dancing, so I finished this dance and then we sat down and I had some cupcakes that I was meant to give to this group in church that we were meant to have a meeting with, because remember, we were going to shoot for, it was not going to be longer than 15 minutes, and then I'd go back because I had a meeting. So these cupcakes were something that I'd carried to share with them. So I remembered, oh, I have these cupcakes, we might as well just eat them because we were hungry. So as we were about to break these cupcakes, my friend is like, why don't we just break bread? So we take the cupcakes and we're like, let's get scripture, and we have a soda here, we might as well do this. So while we're about to do this, the guard comes up with another female officer and he acts like he didn't know why we were there. And he calls, I go to him. But then while we were interacting, he seemed like he was taken aback by why we were standing there, and it was a disturbance and we needed to leave there. But I was talking to him and I was asking him, what have you decided? And so the woman caught on, the guard was with him, caught on, and was basically asking him, please sort out this issue and let them go. And I think, I'm not sure if I explained it to her, but she was more of the thought that just let them have the phone and go, but he wouldn't have it. So he shushed me and he told me to go back. Well, not shushed me, but he sent me back and told me to bring back my friend, or to call my friend and speak to him because he didn't want to speak to me. So while they were speaking, we were just there trying to figure out how we were going to take this communion. And eventually she came back and we started walking towards him, and he would take us to the cell. And while we were there, which we were scared to do first of all, because there was a little bit of a drag before we got to the police cell, but eventually we got there. But we didn't go inside. At the door, he was explaining to another officer about what happened, that this is what they've done, and his whole thing was that we could be terrorists. But we had said we are Kenyan citizens, number one, but number two, we didn't know that we weren't supposed to take pictures in that area, and we apologized and we were willing to delete all the footage, but he was not having it. So he went back to his post. While we were coming back, we were just so frustrated that we started crying. And we met these 2 officers who saw us, and they were just a lady and a guy. And they were asking us, ladies, like, wasichana mbona mnalia? This, if you're not from Kenya, it means, ladies, why are you crying? And so we started explaining the entire thing. And at this point, we were so tired because it was, I think, 5-something. And explaining the entire thing. And they were so compassionate to us. This lady was even saying, I know these ladies, they're from church, I know them. And so they decided to take the issue, and they opted or gave us the option to go and see the boss. And she said something like, we'll take you to the boss and he will help sort this issue. And what the guy said was just touched me so much. He said, I don't want people to think that all officers in Kenya are like this. that's not right for the guy to do that. And so he took us to the police cell. The very place we were scared to go is where the Lord had set up our deliverance. And so we walked in and we met other soldiers and we were explaining the story, and he took us to the boss. I think this was the OCS and someone else. To the boss. He led us in and we sat on the chairs next to his desk. And he turned to us and was like, "What's going on?" And we explained the entire thing. And he told us not to worry, he was going to sort out the entire thing. So we were just sat there, me and my friend, and we were just thinking about us, saying, the very thing we were scared about is the very thing that God is using it to fix the situation. So eventually the boss stood up and they led us out of the cell. He even opened the door for us. So kind. Everyone in that cell was so kind. They felt so much compassion and kindness towards us. We felt so seen and cared for. And this was literally the boss, the OCS, and another guy. He felt like a big guy. I don't know his position, but I could tell that there were people in high ranking. So they led us, held the door for us, led us through, went to his post, and he basically sorted out the issue. He told us to delete the pictures, sorted out the issue. We didn't have to pay any bribe, and the guy was acting clueless, like he didn't know where we were from, all the different things, but he sorted out the issue, gave us the phone, and we left. And this was heading towards 6 p.m. So that was from 2:40 something until 6 p.m. This entire thing was happening. But what God did, he literally just said, wait, I'm gonna show you what's about to happen. He literally used the guy in charge to deliver us, and that's what God can do if you just trust him. Do not rely on your own resources. Do not rely on your contacts. Do not rely on the big people that you know. Because I remember in that situation, I was like, God, I just need to call a big person to come and show up. And God said, just wait and see what I'm about to do. He pulled up and he delivered us from that situation. And we went back and he got us flowers. Oh my gosh. It was just such a beautiful day. So all this to say, trust God with whatever situation that you are in. Trust God because he will deliver you. If he delivered me, he will deliver you. That's what God can do. That's the goodness of God. I pray that this testimony blesses you. In any situation that you are in, just know that God can pull big God moves. May the Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you, be gracious to you and give you peace. Bye.